that was pre-sent to the candidates. So one more question in our Q&A panel. So again, thank you very much for doing really great for time. Audience members were invited to pre-submit some questions as well. So we will have a good amount of time to take some of those pre-submitted questions as well. I will read you the fourth question and then hand to you for your thoughts. If elected, would you support the establishment of a community environmental advisory committee within the council, and how do you see that it would run? If not, how would you facilitate opportunities for community members and organisations like NQCC to work with you on ideas and solutions relating to the issues we've already spoken about?
Thank you. One of the policies, and I've mentioned it a few times tonight, is my community consultation charter. And that's about each of the divisional councillors getting out to their divisions, working with the locals. And part of that is also the organisations, the non-for-profits, people on the ground. We're not getting the representation. What I always saw in council is the community's not getting a voice. It's not being heard. And to do that, to put together a charter that allows once a month the community to come together and put their opinions and their thoughts together, have a register where we know what's going on, and then the back of that is part of the open book policy is so that you can see where it's at, what's being done, what policies have been passed, where we're at. It's really important that we get the community to get involved in that process. And that should include the traditional owners in each of those divisions, as well as Garrambilbara, Duru, Waggarookaba, all of the different mob. I grew up with a lot of the Indigenous guys when I went to school at Coon Primary and Coon High, and I must say they're like brothers, they're like family, like Joanne. I was behind when I first got elected, removing some of the committees on the basis that the advisor I had, a guy called Ken Dime, who looked after water, had actually suggested that committees were just too much work, we're getting bogged down in it. But I do believe a community charter that involves everybody, not just organisations, not just big business, but people from the ground, because you've got the best insights into where we go and what direction we need to head in. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Roy. I mean, we need community engagement and partnership, strategic planning, and initiatives. We need to collaborate with different areas like the North Queensland Conservation Council to work on idea solutions, and also with research. Some of the research done by university, I think we should be looking at that and work on what the future of Townsville environmental situation is, because the way the environment is going around the world, I think we're going to get more and more higher temperatures, more cyclones, and this is why we really need to work with all different areas, state, federal, and probably the world, to get a better option. Thank you.
Thank you. I was just sitting here thinking, I used to chair the City Image Advisory Committee, and I absolutely support an environmental advisory committee, because I just sitting here thinking about it, I thought the City Image Committee really talked more about greening and what the city needs to look like in terms of planting of trees and different things. So it was actually more an environmental advisory committee, and as I mentioned, working with developers about, we just can't keep having concrete footpaths along these major developments. And the other thing that council has, which I believe an environmental advisory committee could use, is we have opened the Ken Armitage Dry Tropic Nursery at our depot at Wellington Street, and also our environmental sustainability house at Rose Bay. So there is two facilities that we can really work with and enhance that. So I'm absolutely supportive of not a city image committee, but an environmental advisory committee. And that can be around tree management, our tree register, anything to do with the environment, waterways, our ecosystems, creek to coral, you name it. And all those things wrapped up really impact the operation of council. So absolutely support it, and would look, obviously have the NQCC, Minka, all those organisations, the Arcadia, Tony O'Malley at the Arcadia Weeding Group, to come and have a seat at the table, because every suburb within Townsville has its own challenges. Magnetic Island is very, very different from Garbutt, very, very different from Kelso. So what it is that the whole of the local government area of Townsville needs. So absolutely support an environmental advisory committee. Thank you.
Yes, so do I, but I'll go into, when I was the Deputy Mayor, I was sitting there one day and I got a phone call from David Castles to come in. I would employ a lot more, because I was a resident of Magnetic Island. I built a house over there on Yumbinan and was there for 7 years. What we need in the strategy on the island especially are more Indigenous ranges, but not just for the island, I mean for Townsville. There's going to be more and more burn-offs that are going to happen in Townsville because of the change in the climate and these sort of things. I think we need the expertise that those people have to actually guide us to what we can do, because on the island at the time when I was living at the back of Arcadia, they used to drop incendiaries, and those incendiaries would just take a hold on the certain sections. I think we need Indigenous rangers there to actually help us, and Indigenous rangers in Blue Water in my area and those sort of areas, because that'll be more important. So this committee that we would form, and Greg Bruce would definitely be on that committee, because I've worked with Greg on many issues, including all the sea rises and what it's doing to the the trees and everything on the waterline. So that committee is very essential, but we've got to look at the problem with the climate change of getting people with the expertise and knowledge into council to actually help us out. Thank you.
Folks, since the 16th of October, I've filled 5 of these books, speaking with more than 5,000 residents. And I tell you what, our city is a bit of a disgrace, and our trees and our gardens are crying out. And if you love plants, you can look and see that. The dam is full, and yet we've turned off all our taps to our gardens and our entrances. I have no idea why, but it is a disgrace, and Townsville needs greening. And first off, I'd be just turning those taps back on. But I won't be putting in water sprinklers that are made of plastic that the kookaburras eat, because if you go and talk to the gardeners and actually speak with the workers, you find out so much. Do you know that in 1991, we had 3 First Nations people. Uncle Alec Illen used to hold a community meeting every 2 weeks. He would come back completely exhausted, because indeed, yes, all the community people would come together, Torres Strait Islanders, all the different tribes. They would fight and they would yell, but they would sort out all their issues, and at the end they would have peace and calm and come together. We also had an Indigenous Sport and Rec officer, and next to me we had an Aboriginal Community Cultural Development officer. And I can tell you, things were a lot calmer, and things were happy, and we were united and working together. So in that greening strategy, definitely an advisory committee, and every other advisory committee that we have cancelled. Do you realise the cancellation of the committees, Troy, was the beginning of the downfall in the last couple of years? Because once you would have a committee, cultural development, planning, engineering, and a councillor would sit on each one. And then there was also a community committee, an advisory committee that would work with that committee that a councillor oversaw. Take away the committees, now you've got 2 silos. So you've got the CEO running the show and the councillors hopefully reading their minutes for directors' meeting.
Well, Joanne, I agree with you on some things tonight, but one thing I don't agree with, I'm not in a disgraceful city. I love this city, I'm proud of it. It could be better, and that's what we have to do collectively, is to make it better. But it's certainly not a disgrace, and I take a bit of offence at that. Yes, to the advisory committees, that needs to happen, and the charter has to be formulated in consultation with groups like NQCC, North Queensland Dry Tropics, anybody and all those organisations who have a passion for in doing what we're all here tonight hoping with. Batteries, is it a solar battery we were dealing with here?
Keep going.
I think I don't know if the agenda has currently councillors, whether the meeting agenda has a section for sustainability environment, but if it doesn't, I think it should, and that all division councillors should report at the meetings on their division's efforts to meet the charter of what we've designed as the advisory group, so that we're aware of what's happening. And they should also then take back to their divisions by way of communication what the council are doing. So transparency on what actions are being taken, the engagement bit is really important. So I'm really proud of my city. I want it to be better, I want it to be greener, I want it to be more environmental, and I want it to be more sustainable for the challenges we have with climate change, but I'm really proud of it.
Thank you very much, candidate.